Welcome back to our next session. In this session, we're going to gain an understanding of trauma's impact on the brain. We're going to do an overview on the brain and its reactions to trauma. We're going to then learn what ambient anxiety really is. And we're going to look how to lower our ambient anxiety. Now, you can see this on YouTube. It's called, you can see this right here. It's a quick clip on researchers and scientists studying the polar bears. And as you watch this, they're flying with a helicopter and they start chasing this polar bear. And the polar bear keeps running. And eventually the polar bear gets tired and he doesn't think he can outrun this thing, whatever it is, in the air. They shoot him with a tranquilizer dart. He falls asleep. They land. They go through the process of measuring and doing all they do, and they give him some shots to keep him from any infections. And then what they've learned through their experience is that if they leave before he wakes up, then he thinks he got away. And so they'll pack up their stuff, and as they're leaving, this bear goes through a trauma release experience where he starts heavy breathing and his paws are moving, and it looks like he's running in his sleep. And then all of a sudden, towards the end, he goes, deep breaths and heaves, just deep heaves. And then eventually he wakes up. Now, they've gone. And he gets up and he says, wow, I outran him. I'm cool. This is good. And he goes on at life. No residue trauma at all. He's released all of that. One of the things that we can learn as humans is how to do that effectively as humans. And that when we go through experiences, we can shake it off through a process of practicing and mastering some of these concepts. Now, we're talking about that limbic system in the brain, that lower part of our brain that hijacks us and runs with us when the alligator's screaming you're going to die and the monkey's trying to push buttons. What happens that time is that they take over. We get hijacked in the middle of all this stuff, and our lower, less intelligent thinking takes over. And we can end up cycling through these behaviors over and over and over as long as that part of the brain controls what we do. Now, that's a lot to do with what we call ambient anxiety in research. And scientists have realized, and they've more and more studied, on a bigger scale, that most of us, the average child run into an average, safe, stable, intact family home where there's not major dysfunction going on. They're not perfect, but there's major stuff. And they grow up in the same neighborhood. They grow up, their level of anxiety out of a 10 is about 5. And that's a normal, healthy person that's not gone through major trauma level. Now, some of us have gone through some pretty tough anxiety trauma. And so we can run around, especially those of you who've discovered that you're not married to who you thought you were married to, and your marriage is not what you thought, or you're afraid that the one you're married to is going to divorce you or shoot you because of what you've done. There's a lot of anxiety in that home. And so you're kicking along day in and day out at a 9 or 10 or an 8 or 9. If you continue to do that, it doesn't take a very big bump in the road to hit 10. And when you do, the brain panics. And guess who takes over? The alligator and the monkey. And it's bad news. Now, I use the term trap door. Literally, there's no trap door in your house, in your brain. There might be in your house, there's not in your brain. Now, the point here is this. The brain and the monkey talk so fast that between what they can do, they can communicate and hijack your brain before the cortex ever has a chance to engage. And so it's kind of left standing out there while these two are running away with you. Now, it's boom, it's meltdown. It's like you can't think at this point, and it's gone. It's history. Now, shame now takes over with all the old messages from the past. Some of those that I shared out of my story earlier. It's like, and then the brain panics. Now, here's the goal. What are we going to do to lower that anxiety? If you can keep that anxiety low enough, then when you hit the bumps in the road, the rocky days, the tough days, the sad days, you're not going to hit the panic button. So these are some of the things I'd like to do. Now I'm going to give us a practice. we're going to do a practice here in a few minutes. I'm going to ask you to find a relaxing place to either lie down or sit comfortably. You're going to turn off the phone and other distractions for just 2 minutes. And I'm going to walk you through an exercise where I'm going to teach you how to do one of these exercises lowering that anxiety. All right, now that you found yourself a really comfortable place, it's kind of quiet where you are, everything's turned off, I want you just to kind of go with me through this, and I'm going to walk you through that and let you do one as a trial. See how we do it together, and then I'm going to turn you loose. Okay, the first one would be is that I want you to place the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth just behind your front teeth. Just a light pressure, not hard. Now, I want you to take a slow, deep breath in and count. 1, 2, 3, keep counting until you got a full set of lungs there. Hold your breath. Let's count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now exhale. And as you exhale one more count than you inhaled. Good. Now when all the air is out, hold your breath for a count of 2. 1, 2. Okay. Now you'll repeat this for 2 minutes. I'm going to time you. I'll let you know when the time's up. And when your time's up, I want you to just kind of, first of all, just notice, be aware of how you're feeling right then. And we'll let you journal your insights and findings later. Okay? Go ahead. All right. Just as you notice how you feel, I'm sure you felt more calm after that. Now we're going to do a review. I'm going to go over some things that help you create a more ambient, friendly area in your home, in your life. Let's go through a review real quick. One of the things that we've done is that we've done an overview of why our minds do what they do. When it hits that, when ambient anxiety gets up to a certain point, we panic. And when that panic hits, guess who takes over and runs our mind? You're right, the monkey and the alligator. Now, and we've looked at our dilemma with anxiety. If we're living today at a high level of anxiety, then we're just a bump at the little small pebble in the road, and we've hit 10, and we're in danger. The monkey and alligator's already taken over. So that's the limit. We've got to learn to manage our anxiety. The third is that we are creating a plan. We're building a plan to achieve a higher level of peace of mind. Now, this peace of mind is another way to say this is the brain feels safe. And if the brain feels safe, your life's going to be safer. Your life is going to be calmer. You're going to experience more peace. Now, part of this plan that I'm talking about is your breathing exercises and what I'm going to share with you next. Now, next we're going to do an inventory on our ambient anxiety. I'll leave that to you here. Now, let me first give you some accelerating habits. If you begin to put these into your life, you're going to notice a faster shift into this place of a peaceful mind. All right? Now, here's some things you don't do. I would suggest that you don't do emails, radio or TV or newspaper, basically outside world information, for the first hour of the morning and the last 2 hours before bedtime. Your brain doesn't need that. If you do that first thing in the morning, then your brain is already jacked up in anxiety about what's going on in the world, because part of your brain, that monkey and alligator, the alligator reads that paper and says, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And the monkey panics and says, oh no, oh no, oh no. And you're already in a heightened state of anxiety, and you haven't even got started for the day. And it begins to drive your entire day. You're not initiating, it's initiating you. You know, don't let your brain get hijacked by all this stuff. Besides, the TV and all that stuff, they don't give you the full story anyway. You're not getting the whole deal. You're just getting the hyped up stuff that brings people to watch that stuff. It increases anxiety. Now, what do? I would suggest that you get up in the mornings and you meditate. You journal. There's meditations out there that you can find. I recommend them to you. Journal. Write in your journal each day what went on the day before, what insights you're gaining. Now, in the Listen to God, I'm going to cover deeper what listening to God exercise means, but I'm going to tell you right now is that just practice. So, God, you got something to say? I'd like to hear. Just start there. And then write them. Write what you think you hear. I'll go into more detail of that later. Now, in the breathing exercises, we just did one. Do that twice a day. When you get up that first hour, and before you go to bed, the hour within the time before you go to bed. Do it again. You're going to find that your brain gets calmer. Your sleep's going to be a lot better. Now, don't watch TV 2 hours before going to bed, or bring devices with you to your bed. Don't do that to your limbic system, the monkey and the alligator, because they're going to sit there all night long, scrapping and fighting to try to take over your brain while you're asleep. How well sleep do you think you're going to get? You won't. And so you're not going to sleep well that way. You wake up in the morning, you're still anxious. Now, what do? Try a meditation before you go to sleep. Try a breathing exercise before you go to bed. Stretching, something, yoga, tai chi, something that's just a slow and easy exercise, or something just to allow you to calm that brain down. If you can get the sleep you need, you're going to find that these habits, the things that you're going to be doing, is going to begin the process of changing your world. Now, we're going to stop here. I got you some homework for you I want you to do. I want you to take time out and make a list of the toxic things that increase anxiety in your life, whether it's the environment you work in or live in, whether it's toxic relationships, either your spouse or extended family, or work relationships, work itself. Maybe there's some illness. Maybe you're experiencing illness, or somebody in your family. Maybe there are financial issues that are creating, more stress in your life. Write them down. I don't want them running around in your head like a rat in a cage. I want them on the paper. So you make an inventory. I want you to take an inventory of all these things. Work on it. Be intentional. The next thing is now prioritize this list. I want you to take that list that you wrote down. Maybe it was willy-nilly or just kind of as they came to you. Now go back through that and start at number one and work your way all the way down from the worst to the least impactful. So we want the number one. That's the one that really shuts your trap door faster than anything else. And the next one is write out your story in your journal. I want you to write these things down. I want you to write down these things as far back as you can go in your up to present. Take time to write out your story the best you can. Do your best. Now, write your story of your life. Have a history on paper. And then I encourage you to do one more thing. Do the 2-minute listening and write down your impressions and continue breathing.